Yo, what's going on, guys? Today we are going to be going over level 60 Swiss Army Knife Zane. Now, if you guys have checked out my previous versions of this build, you guys know what this build is all about. It is basically the best general all-around build where you can use any action skills, any gear, pretty much any good weapons in the game, and this build will work for you no matter how you want to play, what you want to do. And yeah, so let's get straight into it. Now, basically, this build is my kind of way I teach people how to play Zane and how his skills and skill trees work out for him and how important the different skills are. So first of all, let's actually just start in the... It'll be easier if we start in the green and red trees. There's only so many points we realistically want to spend here. In green tree, we really want ready for action. We want brain freeze, and we want confident competence. Now, the reason for ready for action over a skill like adrenaline is because of diminishing returns. If you have guardian rank, which you most likely should be using in Mayhem 10, you're gonna have this skill right here called topped off. This gives you 200% action skill cooldown rate, and when you stack adrenaline on top of that, it actually only saves you 1 extra second on most of the action skills, so it's really not worth it. What's way more worth it is getting your shields full to activate that 200% cooldown rate. And then, yeah, we pretty much just stop at confident competence because, you know, brain freeze is the next best skill. And yeah. So now into red tree, you notice I am going 5 borrowed time and 5 synchronicity now. This is actually for a good reason, and this is basically because of Zane's gun damage. And it kind of falls into the same trap that the adrenaline and topped off falls into, and that gun damage has diminishing returns. The more of one singular bonus you add, it becomes additive to your other gun damage bonuses, and the payoff just is not there. So basically we've gone 5 borrowed time, 3 duct tape mod, 5 Donnybrook. Donnybrook is a great skill on the other hand, and this time we get to get 3 supersonic man. So supersonic man, Donnybrook, and borrowed time are basically going to be your go-to skills. Now, I've been using duct tape mod over synchronicity because this has diminishing returns, whereas duct tape mod can actually allow me to throw a potentially powerful grenade on Mayhem 10. I still have to experiment with some of the better damaging grenades on Mayhem 10 because now we have Mayhem 10 grenades. I haven't really experimented with them just yet. And finally, we are just going to grab these clone skills. Now, even if you don't use the clone this much, then I still recommend grabbing at least Fractal Frags and Old U, because this allows you to pretty much switch to the clone whenever you want. You won't always need Quick Breather, and yeah. This is the versatility in this build where I can toss on my drone, I can toss on my clone, or I can use barrier and drone, or I can use clone and barrier, and I think you guys see the point here in the picture. Now, I wanted to go over the green and red trees because these skill points are pretty simple. Like, we only want to get so many skills in these trees, and that's when we get into blue tree. Once you spend your points in red and green, you're going to dump the rest of them into blue. This is where all of our DPS comes from. Violent momentum, violent speed, and then these DPS skills like cool hand, violent violence, and just a couple points in playing dirty. Now, I'm going to explain this stuff. Now, you notice I have 1 point unspent. And that basically goes into drone delivery, but personally, I do not use the drone unless I am using Sentinel Cryo weapons, and when we talk about the weapons in a second, you'll see why I'm not using the drone. In my opinion, if you are not using Sentinel Cryo as an anointment, do not use the drone. It's just not worth it in my opinion, and I'll talk about that. I'll talk about why in a second, but yeah, so if you are going to use the drone, stick that last point into drone delivery. And that makes this the Swiss Army Knife build so that we can stick on the drone anytime we want. But besides that, let's talk about some of our skill choices. Now, when it comes to playing dirty, you really only need probably about 3 to 5 points. At 3 points, with a redistributor, you will get every shot as playing dirty, with the exception of a couple. But like 9 out of 10 shots on a redistributor have playing dirty with only 3 points in it. So yeah. And besides that, we really want as much violent violence and as much cool hand as possible. These DPS skills are pretty much insane. And besides that, we only need 1 point in salvation because now we're on Mayhem 10. We are dealing enough damage with our guns that 1 shot puts us up to full health. So you only need 1 point here, and you only need 1 point into Good Misfortune. Combined with the See Undead class mod and the right weapons, which I'll go over in a second, You'll never need more points than this. Now, one other thing I do want to mention about the drone is for the takedowns, you definitely still want to stick to Bad Dose and Static Field. And that is, so the drone did get buffed recently, and we are still waiting for Clone to get buffed so he can do a bit more damage. But I did test out the Boomsday as a damaging augment. Somewhere like the DLC, this augment is pretty decent at killing enemies, but somewhere like the takedown, you're just not going to have enough damage to kill a Guardian with this skill. So just stick to Bad Dose and Static Field. Finally, let's go over the weapons, and this is my favorite part. So first we got to talk about the class mod. The See and Dead class mod is the go-to for Zane, and this makes the Swiss Army Knife possible, the Swiss Army Knife build. Basically what you're looking for on your See and Dead is those bottom rolls. The top rolls on your See and Dead does not matter. Do not go searching for 5 Donnybrook because it really does not matter, guys. You're looking for weapon crit, weapon type damage, as in SMG and assault rifle, or something like splash. These are basically the multiplicative bonuses when it comes to Zane. So look out for these bottom rolls specifically. You want to match them to whatever guns you're holding in your hand. The best general roll is actually weapon crit. It's similar to weapon damage. However, weapon damage is additive with all of Zane's damaging skills, whereas weapon crit gets you a better bonus. So yeah, we'll just stick one on. Now, when it comes to the shield, I really recommend something like the Big Boom Blaster. Now, this is very fast recharging. On top of that, the boosters will always keep your shields full, and this helps us trigger topped off, just like I said. Now, Zane has tons of survivability. You do not need something like a Transformer or a Stopgap for survivability. If you want to do some like back burner shenanigans, then a Transformer is fine. But otherwise, really stick to fast recharging shields. That is pretty much like some of the best ways to get the most out of Zane. Besides that, I kind of recommend maybe checking out the Stinger. There's some cool things you can add to this build that you can go nuts with. But otherwise, maybe even an Old God shield for some more elemental damage can be nice. But I don't really run the Old God because I'd rather my shield recharge quickly, and the Old God does not recharge that quick. When it comes to the grenades, now, like I said, we just got Mayhem 10 grenades. I am going to be experimenting with like damaging Mayhem 10 grenades. I think that would really supplement this build really well, especially with Fractal Frags from the clone, Duct Tape mod, drone delivery if you're using the drone. I think damaging grenades are going to be very strong in Mayhem 10, but I'm not sure yet. So what I'm going to recommend to you is what I've always recommended. It's Piss for more damage. Recurring Hex Grenade. This is the grenade that triggers the See and Dead class mod the most amount of times. And this can also freeze enemies with Brain Freeze. And otherwise maybe like a Quasar. That's about it. Like I said, just find the damaging grenades in Mayhem 10. I'm sure me and other YouTubers will make videos. When it comes to the artifact, you're going to want a Snowdrift or a Icebreaker Victory Rush. These are the highest damaging artifacts for Zane mobbing, and then Snowdrift for Zane bossing. With Violent Momentum and a Snowdrift, you can get almost 1,000% gun damage, and the Icebreaker Vic Rush with some decent passives like SMG or Shock, even just one of those passives beats the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge. If you want more explanation on that, it basically comes down to diminishing returns and gun damage. The biggest bonus on the Pearl of Knowledge is gun damage. And yeah, so I really recommend the Icebreaker and then the Snowdrift for bossing and, you know, cut first launchpad on you just in case. Now, when it comes to the weapons in this build, I am not going to tell you guys about the weapons. Well, I'm going to tell you about weapons I like using. But really, if there's a good weapon in this game, then it's going to be good on this build. And that's what this build is all about, is using whatever weapons and anointments you want. So for example, now I'm just going to tell you the most powerful anointments on Zane. That is Sentinel Cryo is one of them. But like I said, I don't really like using the drone because we can get more damage out of blowing up our clone and these elemental anointments. So I really recommend running Clone Barrier right now. Even a drone clone build could be cool once they buff the clone's damage. Because then we can use the drone and clone for damage, and that can be pretty decent. Besides that, the Redistributor is the best weapon for Zane mobbing, because the Redistributor will chain every single shot if you are using Zane's Barrier, because the Barrier amps all your bullets, and it clearly says right there, amped shots chained to nearby enemies. Besides that, I really recommend the Light Show. This is a new weapon from DLC 3, and it's very similar to the Monarch. I recommend actually having both of these on you. And then finally, a weapon like the Reflux is super powerful for mobbing. And yeah, now, all right, I gotta mention the anointments. So you are looking for either Sentinel Cryo, which I kind of don't recommend running, because we have this new next to magazine anointment where you can pick any element you want for the same damage as Sentinel Cryo. Now, consecutive hits is a gun damage anointment, and next to mags will be more powerful. But since you're using ASE, you really do want an anointment that you can just swap to and it's active. Also, this anointment is pretty good for Fight for Your Life. So it's definitely up there, I would say. And then Barrier, Accuracy, and Crit. This is a 70% crit bonus. You can get some pretty good damage out of this. Now, pretty much to end the video, I just want to show you guys one scene. We're just going to mob real quick, just to show you guys the power behind this build. So for example, alright, so I activated my next to magazine anointment. We're actually gonna wait 10 seconds. I want these ASEs to go away. Because what this is gonna do is we have 100% cryo on next to magazines. This is gonna emulate what Sentinel Cryo does for this build, as long as I wait until those bonus elements are gone. All right, they should be gone by now because my kill skills ran out. So this is gonna emulate what Sentinel Cryo looks like. So that's kind of the damage of what Sentinel Cryo would look like, which is not bad. We are shredding through enemies, right? But let's blow up our Digiclone. Let's activate these elemental grenades on Nade and Shield, and watch this.
I'll kill you. Death comes for us all. But you first.
Just absolutely starts shredding pretty much everything extremely fast. I don't even know if I have SMG on my... Yeah, I don't even have my SMG class mod on. Weapon crit SMG. So it's really those bonus elements. If you didn't know, the redistributor gets bonus chains from bonus elements. So this is very powerful. Let's show you guys some Light Show. The Light Show is pretty good. This is like a mini Monarch. It allows you to equip one Monarch and one Light Show, and kind of spread out your damage a little, or your ammo a little bit. So you're not using all your assault rifle ammo. We activate our elemental ASEs, and we can basically start to shred. And guys, this is Guardian Takedown Mayhem 10. And yeah, so this build is pretty much up for it. That's the point I'm trying to show off. Anyways, let's go ahead and cut the footage there. Anyways, guys, that is it for the video today. I really hope you guys enjoy this level 60 Swiss Army Knife Zane build. The jack of all trades, any action skills. If you find any anointment, you can use your clone for action skill end. Oh, one other anointment I have to point out is 200% splash. You definitely want that on your rocket launchers. Anyways, guys, that is going to be it from me. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.